Hello, everyone. Good morning, or I guess good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Super excited for our live stream today. We've got a great topic and good lineup of speakers here. Hopefully, as you guys are getting settled, whether you're joining us from LinkedIn or YouTube, we'd love for you to use the chat box there. Let us know where you're joining us from. I'm currently here in Dallas, Texas. I know Kevin's in a much cooler location. Kevin, you want to let us know where you're joining us from?
From Oslo, Norway today. Originally from, I
Yeah.
live in Boston, but the headquarters of SalesScreen is over in Oslo. So I'm here to watch some World Cup games with the local fans and do some work on the side as well.
Love that. Perfect. And Zach, where are you joining us from as well?
I am here from Addison, Texas at the SPOTIO headquarters.
Perfect. Yeah, not too, just around the corner from where I'm at. Perfect. Well, like I said, everyone, welcome to today's live stream. Like I said, whether you're joining us from YouTube or LinkedIn, feel free to go ahead and use the chat feature there. Let us know where you're joining us from. We'd love to hear that. And if you're a Spodio customer, you're here, came upon Spodio, or you're a Sales Screen customer, or hearing about Sales Screen for the first time, we welcome you, and we're excited to have you with us here today. So, all right, we'll get started here in just a second. Um, Hopefully, everyone is looking forward to maybe some games, talking a little bit about the World Cup. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and jump into today's conversation. I know you guys were really enjoying that music, but we'll shift gears here a little bit. Like I said, excited for today's conversation. Oh, we got somebody joining us from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Welcome. Welcome, Robert. Put that on here. Like I said, feel free to let us know where you're joining from and whether or not you're a customer. We love running into customers and future customers. All right, we're going to be talking about the revenue your field team is leaving on the table. Excited for this. While I am in marketing, have a huge affinity for sales and all the work that they do. So, and we're going to leave you with answers on how to capture it and what you could be doing to make sure that you're set up for success as we go into second half of the year. So, Crystal, I'm our head of marketing. I'll be hosting today's conversation, and joining me, I've got a couple of great special guests. We'll go ahead and start with Kevin. Kevin's the head of sales at SalesStream, head of sales for North America at SalesStreams. Kevin Kotaluk there. I've been working on that last name. Kevin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and then remind the folks where you're joining us from for those who are just getting started with us.
Yep. So I'm Kevin Kotalek. I'm the head of sales North America for SalesScreen. Been at SalesScreen for a little over a month, so just kind of getting new to the SalesScreen, but been in sales software sales for the last 15 plus years. Been in sales leadership for the last 12 of those, I think it is. So got a lot of experience in this sort of thing, and live in Boston, but I am in Oslo, Norway, at our company headquarters right now. So,
Perfect. Thanks so much.
no,
Yeah.
but it's the sun just doesn't set here.
There you go. Well, thanks for joining us. And alongside you, we've got Zach, no stranger to you, but feel free to introduce yourself and tell us where you're joining us from.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Zach Shepard. I'm our solutions manager for SPOTIO, joining from Dallas, Texas. And a little background on me, I've been working either directly in a sales role or in roles that support sales for the last decade or so, 5 of those at SPOTIO. And yeah, very excited for the topic that we have to dive into today.
Perfect. And just really quick as a refresher, for those of you that maybe aren't familiar with Spodio, Spodio is a field sales execution platform for revenue-driven teams, turning field activity into reliable forecasts, helping lower the cost of sales, and overall create predictable revenue growth. Featured there on G2, along with our friends over at SalesScreen. If you look at the sales gamification category, so. Like I said, experts in the field here. And with that, we'll kind of turn things over to Zach to kick our conversation off for today. We want to keep it very interactive. So for those of you joining us, feel free to give us your comments, thumbs up, if you can relate to any of the talking points throughout today.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll take it away. So here is something that I keep running into. I talk to field sales leaders all the time, and they're telling me that revenue is up, and it genuinely is. We actually run a state of field sales survey every year, and we surveyed hundreds of field sales professionals for our 2026 state of field sales report. And what that report shows us is that 73% of field sales teams actually grew revenue last year, that's a pretty good headline.
Very good.
The interesting piece about that, though, is like the same report tells us something that should really stop every sales leader cold in their tracks, right? Fewer than a third of those teams have 70% or more of their reps consistently hitting their quota. And so most teams are growing at the top while the majority of individual reps are still underperforming. And so that gap, the gap between the revenue that you're actually generating and the revenue that your team is actually capable of producing, that's really where we want to dial in today.
Yeah, no, I think 100% on that, Zach. There is a lot of revenue coming in, but what frustrates, I think, most sales leaders is that top line's going, but the middle people aren't. And if you're so heavily reliant on a small part of the team, it's not a way to build success. And it's really hard when that process isn't working, right? So understanding the process a little bit better and getting that. But I mean, we're seeing that across the customer base here, and then even with my colleagues that I talk to a lot, revenue's up, but the attainment is kind of flat. So we need to figure out how to improve those, and I think a cooperation between the two of us is the way we can do that for sure.
I love that. And definitely want to see for those of you that are on the call, if you can relate and have ever been in sales, we're just going to do a quick, brief giveaway here as you guys think a little bit about how your team performance is happening. And like I said, as we're going into the second half of the year, are your reps hitting quota? What is kind of top of mind concerns for you? We are going to do just a quick giveaway. Feel free to go to spotio.com there. Find the sales gamification feature page and go ahead and chat with our chat. For the first couple people there that type in sales quota, you will win a DoorDash gift card. And we've got a giveaway here at the end as well. So, and if you are in sales, we'd love to hear how you guys are doing or what you're looking forward to getting help with the most today as our experts move into answering that here. So we'll go ahead and announce those winners in just a little bit. But we'll turn it back over to you, Zach, to maybe dive into what else you're seeing out in the field.
Yeah, for sure. So whenever I dig into this with customers, it almost kind of comes back to the same two places. The first is the kind of 20-60-20 performance dynamic, right? So your top 20% of your reps are self-motivated. They're going to hit the number regardless of what infrastructure you have or whatever tools they've been given. And the bottom 20%, they might just be misaligned for the role. That middle 60, they have the skill, but they lack the consistent motivation. And that's really where your ROI lives. It's taking that skill, giving it the structure, giving it the recognition, and giving them a reason to push past their comfort zone to be able to achieve better results than they could normally.
Yeah, I think for sure, right? I think all sales leaders see this. Like you said, the top 20% will do good no matter what, right? They're motivated differently. They're just good, right? Those A players and we all want those A players. There's just not enough to go around, right? So you get into that middle 60% where you have some B players and maybe they're just new to the industry or that's just kind of what they are. And there's such a large group of those people that's where you can make the biggest impact on the revenue line. Improving those A players, it'll help, but if you can whether you get the drastic improvements is where you get that middle 60% improving 15, 20, 30% more. And you get that improvement from those people in the middle. But then you also, every once in a while, you see those A players that are like, oh, so-and-so's catching up to me. They give a little bit more at that point as well, right? So I think being able to motivate the middle people, that's key to success across the sales field for sure.
Absolutely. So it's kind of hard to you can't really have a sales growth strategy that's like based around hiring the best talent and the top performers, right? And making sure that every member of your team is along that caliber. But you can definitely get real benefit out of taking the reps that you have today and using different motivational levers to squeeze a little bit more out of that segment of your business, right?
For sure, too, right? And I think you see like finding out what motivates these people as well. Like I think sales were mostly money motivated, but not everybody is motivated by that, right? And it's maybe it's the recognition that they're missing, or that little tap, saying good job every once in a while, where they're probably not getting that as much because they're not as closing as much business. But once you get a little bit of that recognition and maybe get that snowball effect going, and that momentum breeds momentum. So I think with that, and then like just the lag of that feedback you get when you're out in the field all day, you're banging on doors, you're having good conversations, but no one says good job to you until Friday or maybe the next week. So with a tool like SalesScreen, pulling in that Spotio data, you're getting that constant reinforcement, and it really stops the highs and the lows, where you're not getting too high one day or too low the other day. Just kind of a nice gradual constant change, growth. And we see a lot of our partners and customers that are really benefiting from that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Kevin, because that's the second piece that tends to be kind of the trend with the customers that I talk to, is that delayed feedback loop. Field sales, I definitely know this from experience. It can be a psychological grind, right? Compared to working in an offensive environment where there's the built-in social energy, somebody to compete with, a manager who can see you working. Field reps are generally solo. It's just you and your territory, man. You got to get it done, right? And so that is where we see that feedback loop being a little more persistent, like you're mentioning, Kevin. I think that's a way that we can have performance not necessarily fluctuate based on the mood, right? We can use that motivational engine to actually get more out of the field.
Yeah, for sure. It's lonely out there all by yourself, and the days of being around the other people and getting that uplift from the masses is really hard in a remote world or on yourself out in the field, right? So this is the way to kind of bring that team atmosphere together. You close a deal or you hit a goal, you get a notification on your phone, it gets a little bit of excitement going. You also see when other people are doing well, so it kind of promotes that team growth aspect as well, but also that competitiveness that most salespeople have within them, to want to be better, to want to win. So there's a lot of different kind of benefits that come along with that.
For sure.
Absolutely. And just for everybody that's joining us, I'm just curious, as a quick question, has any of your team tried running spiffs or competitions before? Feel free to drop in the chat. Or maybe if you've, as an individual rep, have participated in a contest before. Kevin mentioned that, everyone's kind of motivated differently, and that while money is a motivator, there are other things. And so just curious if anybody here has either ran a contest or participated in a contest. Would love to know, as Zach kind of jumps a little bit into the solution of today.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely dive in. So what we see usually is most teams have some version of a leaderboard or a dashboard, right? The problem is not visibility to the performance. It's that visibility, seeing it alone doesn't change the behavior. And so where we see wins getting realized with Spotio and SalesScreen working together, it's really framed around this. Spotio is a system of action. It's where field work happens, and SalesScreen kind of functions more as the system of motivation. It's where that data gets a heartbeat, and that framing tends to resonate with our customers. The analogy I always go back to is Spotio is the engine and SalesScreen is like a turbo booster, right? You can have a world-class engine running in the field, capturing every knock, capturing every appointment, every stage change, but the reps need to feel the impact of that work in order for the behavior to compound. And that's really the gap that we're talking through today.
Yeah, 100%, right? Like I think there's always been leaderboards or dashboards, but where are they? How often are we looking at them? A new one comes out, we look at it for a week or two, and then we kind of forget about where it is. And that lag in response times, and that is what kills it. Like you said, the system of action being Spotio, bringing the stuff in, and then that motivation is through SalesScreen. So you seeing where you are compared to your peers, compared to yourself, even last week, however you want to measure yourself, you have that real time feedback of what's working. Are you working hard enough? Are you the top rep? Are you the bottom rep? And all those things that really help with the motivation to, knock on that next door or ask that next question, whatever it might be.
Yeah. That makes sense. So what are some of the ways, Kevin, that you see being as, I guess, kind of great levers to be able to pull to take advantage of that motivational engine and be able to get a little more juice out of the middle of the pack?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple that we have. There's four. I think we'd say like there's competitions, which are like time bound contests that tie directly into the Spotio metrics that are actually move revenue. So like doors knocked, appointment sets, deal closed, whatever you want to kind of pull from Spotio into there, you can do competitions off of that. And the nice thing is there's nothing really manual about it. Scores just update automatically from Spotio in real time. And typically we see like a good, 40-45% increase in activity when competitions are live. And there's different formats of how you can do it. It could be brackets, lottery, lottery competitions, power hours, however you want to do that. You learn throughout time what competition works best and motivates your team the best, but there's a lot of ways you can actually do that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that definitely impressed me about the SalesScreen platform the first time I saw it, is just the sheer level of depth that you have to the different types of competitions that you could run. It's not always, every rep versus every rep in a, big competition with standings and leaderboards kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You can go one-on-one, you can do different types of contests, lotteries,
Yeah.
where you play. Yeah, you can play to win. Basically, you can essentially do as much activity as you need to get as many chances to play that lottery as
Yep.
you would want. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that diversity is good, right? So another one is the battles where you can have a one-on-one battle with a peer of yours, right? And like you said, like typically when we have contests as sales leaders, it's the same people winning all the time. So why am I going to invest myself if I know I'm not going to win? Like, Jimmy's going to win. Jimmy always wins. He always sells the most because Jimmy's the best. So I'm not even going to try. It doesn't make any difference to me. But the way you set up a competition where multiple chances to win, that helps motivate. And then there's another one where we do battles where it's a one-on-one. So I'm challenging Zach today to who can knock on the most doors. And we're just playing against each other. And that way you have a chance to win. And typically I find though, like you win that, and then all of a sudden you think, oh, I actually can do this. I'm actually not as bad as I think I am. And it's just that first win you need to get, like kind of going off like the World Cup theme, right? If you haven't scored a goal in a while, and then all of a sudden one goes off for you and into the net, the next goal is going to be a little bit easier, right? So you need that momentum to push you that you can do it. So I think like a battle where you pick a colleague of yours, you go 1-to-1 with a chance to win. And I think that's a nice way to kind of get some momentum going. And we find that when people doing that, they typically pick the person they really want to beat, and they do a little bit more just to kind of to prove it, sort of like in a friendly competition, but all with those competitions, the talent kind of responds to it and gets a little bit better from it.
Definitely makes sense. And I think like the key with the integration powering all of this data is that reps actually trust the leaderboard, because it's the same data they're already logging in Spotio. And so that trust is really what makes these competitions work over time. The battles piece is also really important too. That's one that when I'm showing this to customers as a solution, like that's one that resonates really heavily, because as you pointed out, we put everybody in the same leaderboard. It can be a little bit demotivating for somebody that's kind of at the bottom or middle bottom of that pack, right? We do a step challenge every year, company wide, and our development team is in Poland and they walk a lot. And so when I see them up on the leaderboard, I'm like, man, there's no way that I'm going to be able to walk 12 miles a day, or I guess 15 kilometers a day for them. But I could probably beat my brother-in-law. And so if we were able to go head to head in something like that, that would definitely motivate me a little bit more personally.
Yeah, no, and I think the variety is nice, right? Because all the spiffs, the competitions I've run in the past have been pretty standard. Same one as probably 3 months ago, just with a different name. If it's a March Madness one, then it becomes like a World Series one, and then it's like a holiday one, right? But all the kind of the same basics around it. So the variety, and it keeps it interesting for people to do that. And then there's also a thing we call missions, which is where you set something up for yourself, where uh, it's breaks down. Like if you're looking, you come into the beginning of the month and you got to sell, or knock on 1,000 doors. That's a lot to do, right? So setting up missions for yourself allows you to break it down into a little bit more of a digestible size, right? So instead of 1,000 doors at the beginning of the month, it's 50 doors a day, right? A little bit easier to do, a little bit better with the mindset. Um, and the nice thing with that too is that gets broadcasted out to everybody through the app as well, and you
Nice.
can get your colleagues to endorse you and pump you up and give you, a high five, or coins in the rewards as well for when you're doing it. So if they see that you're going above and beyond what you expected of yourself, they can give you a virtual high five, a thumbs up, um, and endorse you to continue doing the good things that you're doing.
I love that. So mission is like, it's the old adage of how do you eat the elephant? Well, it's one bite at a
Yeah,
time. The mission
yeah,
gives you the bites, and then through the kind of social aspect of it, it's like I'm eating the elephant one bite at a time, and my entire team is cheering me on every chew.
right. Yeah, it's kind of like what was it, Man versus Food back in the day, where everyone's kind of cheering around. If you
Yeah,
might be dating stuff of that, but the whole crowd is cheering you on, trying to get that last little bit done. And going back to what we were saying a little bit earlier, where you're out there all by yourself, this is how you get that team aspect, that in office feel where you're not in the office. So it's motivating, simplifying. It does a lot of good things with that.
yeah,
And I know you guys covered kind of different aspects there between talking a little bit about, battles, missions, recognition, and rewards. Just curious for any of our folks tuning in, we'd love to hear, what actually motivates your team the most, because sometimes we launch competitions and then maybe fall flat on the recognition and rewards part, and then that's kind of does the opposite effect there. And so appreciate you guys kind of breaking the difference down between battles, missions, recognition, rewards. And it sounds like we've got the spectrum there that we can help out with. So definitely feel free to share that. And then Zach, I know timely wise, we had somebody actually ask a little bit about, is SalesScreen already installed in Spotia, or how does that work? And I know you wanted to get into the integration kind of
yeah.
component there, so we'll let you answer that one.
For sure. Yeah. So Spotio is going to be integrated with SalesScreen, communicating with it in real time. That real time piece is really important. That means that the second a rep closes a deal in the field in Spotio, before they're back in the car, their whole team knows about it and is celebrating them in the SalesScreen feed. And that's a cultural moment that you can't really manufacture manually. It just happens. And so that's all powered by the integration Spotio has built to connect to SalesScreen. So one of the questions that I get most often when we talk about this partnership is, okay, how hard is it to actually set it up? And the answer to that is it is genuinely very straightforward. So Spotio connects to SalesScreen with an API key, and you're simply mapping your Spotio activity types, or the events in Spotio that you want to generate activities inside of SalesScreen. And from there, those you can configure metrics, competitions, dashboards on the SalesScreen side, and data is going to flow automatically once everything is set up. There's no manual input, there's no double entry, and there's not even a ton of maintenance that needs to take place. So the sync is going to trigger on real Spotio events, an activity being logged, record stage being changed, an appointment being scheduled. So the moment a rep logs something in the field, SalesScreen picks it up. Leaderboards get updated, competition standings advance, achievement triggers, they all fire, and that's all happening in real time. So the reps drive into their next stop, and the scoreboard is already reflecting their work.
Yeah, and I think once that's set up, which isn't that cumbersome to set up, even a competition is pretty basic as well. You pick the parameters of it, who you want in that competition, um, how long you want it to be running for, what the prizes is, what we're fighting for, and then you hit save, and it runs out, and that gets populated out to everybody on their app as well, to see what the new competition is. You can set up so you can get an email on it as well. Um, so the integration, the setup, the publishing of the competitions, pretty straightforward, fairly easy as well.
Yeah. And because there's like so many different options on the sales screen side, like you really have a lot that you can take advantage of, but you don't necessarily need to use every single thing to be able to get the actual results that you're looking for. I think even some simple type competitions that we see teams being run, especially around like the times that they know are the best to knock areas or knock territories based on when people are most likely to answer the door. That's like a key area where you run a competition during that time. Now you are generating more activity in the time where it's actually going to produce the most results.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right.
Moving on here to just talking a little bit about the data sync. I know you guys talked about kind of those benefits, and then also just curious, Kevin, kind of on your front, what the admin experience is like. What a matter is, configuration. If somebody were to say, okay, we're up and running live, wanting to do a contest, what does that just kind of look like for those that
Yeah,
are maybe a little like, hey, we do contests. We're used to using whiteboards in the office right
yeah,
now, and we maybe have magnets. And yeah, that's typically when I've seen those leaderboards where it's a TV and there's a PowerPoint slide and someone's
right.
manually
So I think
updating that, right?
the thing I'm really excited about coming to Sales Green and being able to run these competitions, right? I think all sales leader want to motivate, they want to run these competitions, but they're really a pain in the what to put together, to manage, to update, to share, to update again, to share, right? So there's a lot of manual tasks that go into the typical competition that's done today. So the fact that all of this data is automatically uploaded through Spotio into SalesScreen makes life so much easier, right? Typically, we'd run a contest; it would end on a Friday at 5 o'clock. I'm not compiling the data at 5 o'clock on a Friday. I'm on my way out, right? So by the time I compile that data, Mondays are usually full of meetings, catching up, getting prepared for the week. So we don't know who won the contest till maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Then by then they're like, "What was the contest? We forgot about it," right? So I think the data sync, the automation, the triggering of all these updates automatically are a time savings for the people that are running them, a motivational thing for the people that are involved in them, and the outcomes become a lot more measurable and a lot more profound because of that quickness to it, right? I know that Zach's gotten beat by one, and I hear the phone go off, and I know it's his battle song that he's got. That's going to motivate me to do the next couple, right? I know that's almost over. Where before, I don't know where my standings are. Am I close? Am I not? Uh, it's 3:30 on a Friday. I'm going to call it a day, sort of thing. But now we know that we can do that, and motivates. So it gets things out there a little bit better with that, and that whole automation is the key to all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost like these contests and kind of this gamification process in general, it works best when the wins are felt in a very real way. And it needs to be an event. It needs to be like a stadium going off when
Yep.
somebody wins something, right?
Yep.
Sales Screen makes it very easy to do that with minimal effort, minimal admin overhead, minimal daily, pull this data out of here, put it in this place, do some
Yep.
formulas on it with some, yeah, exactly.
And the visibility around it, right? I
Right.
think is key to motivate you. If you don't know where you are, it's not going to matter. But if you know, I a little bit behind the next person in front of me, that little step up. So it's good and it's fun. It's like it gets the excitement going when the phone does buzz. In our office when the TVs go off, it does get that feel of something very special is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got
Okay.
a gong, and I was going to say we've got a gong in our office,
Yeah.
and it's
Yes,
on
we do.
the other side of the office. Like we've got the sales side and we've got marketing and product, and it's always, we can hear it go off on the other side,
Yeah.
and it just kind of people perk up a little bit, wanting to know, is that a win? Like
Yeah.
what happened? So
Yeah, and I think you get that sort of outside of the sales, the excitement around that as well, right? Because I think at most companies, we all worry about the sales. We're all working towards the sales. The product team helps with the sales. The marketing team helps with the sales. So everyone has a vested interest in those sales coming through. So everyone getting to see that is a cool part of it as well.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll kind of open it up here for Q&A. Definitely appreciate Zach and Kevin, all of your guys' insights as we talked about, the importance of running competitions, not just for competition's sake, but how it could really make an impact for, growth as an organization. And one question that I had that I'll throw out there, maybe it'll start with you, Zach, here is what metrics should we tie competitions to? I know you talked a little bit about this earlier, but leading indicators or closed revenue, what does that actually look like in terms of maybe some best practices on what to tie in regards to those competitions? And then Kevin, happy to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah. In my experience, a well-rounded system is going to tie competitions to both. We're going to use things like lotteries or like power hours, different contest types for those leading indicators where we really want to drive volume and we want to drive as much of that activity that we know generates results as possible. But nothing wrong with running leaderboards off of closed won deal sizes, off of total revenue captured for a time frame, especially if you have reps that are competing in a similar segment, and being able to kind of leverage that competition with the closed revenue side as well.
Yeah, no, I think the most competitions are usually based around revenue, which is always the ultimate goal and things like that. But a lot of times, if we just worry about the outcomes and not the beginning part, we lose out on a lot, right? So I think that mix of having both the leading indicators, the calls, the door knocks, the meetings, the quotes, whatever that might be, as well as the revenue side of it, it allows for it all. And then it also motivates a lot. That way you get a little bit bigger of a pool of people that you get to motivate as well.
Excellent.
Agreed. And just, on the topic of contests and giveaways here, we've got just another giveaway here for folks to be able to enter on the SalesScreen side, enter for a chance to win a $50 gift card there. So we'll let you guys check that out. And then one last question here is, how do you handle reps that just aren't competitive by nature? And I know this was maybe talked a little bit about earlier, like it depends on who your opponent is. But how do you make sure that this is something that everybody can get involved in and feel impacted by? And maybe we'll kick off with you, Kevin, this time.
Yeah, so I think I think people can say competitions in other different ways too, right? I think genuinely people get into sales because they have a little bit of competitiveness in them. Some higher extremes than others, but people want to do their job well. I really believe that people get into whatever they're doing and they want to do a good job, and this maybe helps them do that a little bit better, right? How do I it maybe is more of a motivation than a competition, but motivates you to do my job is to do this. This helps me do it, helps me understand where I am. Am I succeeding today? Am I a little bit behind? Um, so I think those people understanding who those ones are and maybe making a little bit of a different competition for them as opposed to a larger one is that. But I think it's a more of a motivator than most things.
Yeah. Stated another way, it's like those reps that aren't competitive by nature, they are at least a little bit competitive with themselves, right? They always
Yes.
want to be getting better. They always want to see what happened in the last quarter, in the last time frame, and
Yeah.
make sure that we're getting more of the stuff that works and less of the stuff that doesn't. And so I think that's one of the great things about SalesScreen is being able to vary up competition types to whether it's somebody who's motivated with a missions style approach or seeing kind of benchmarking their performance of this quarter to last quarter. Those things are all great ways to drive a lift. And then the other thing that kind of comes to mind is the rewards aspect of SalesScreen. If I know that I can get certain things that I would like to be able to buy or be able to achieve through that rewards shop just with my own raw output, that's another thing that's going to be able to keep me heads down focused where I need to focus.
Yeah, that's a great point, Zach. There for sure. Like there's something inside you or inside these people that they want to be successful, and how do you bring it out? I think as sales leaders, we need to figure that out. But I think and it's the framing of how we're doing the competitions as well that help with that as well.
Agreed, and I'll say that I have maybe felt this myself sometimes where it's like everyone feels like I'm not a competitive person until it comes down to the competition,
Right.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
we've seen this internally here with like our canned food drive that we've done, and it's like suddenly people are door dashing, cans of tuna to the office, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes into the proper setup, like you guys said, if you've got a process and mechanism that is truly, scalable and it's visual and it's automated in real time, and you've been thoughtful about those metrics. It is amazing how suddenly the not so competitive ones get competitive when they hear that bell go off or that gong go off. And so I think a lot of it is inherently in setting up a great environment. And so that's what has been fun for me to learn about the partnership with Spotio and SalesScreen is when done correctly, it's going to yield the right outcome. So super excited about that. Well, hey, I appreciate your guys' time today. I know there's a lot going on. I appreciate everybody joining us as well. There's, one opportunity to join another contest there. Like I said, Julie, as we were talking about contests, competitions, we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to join that. But wrapping up for today, I appreciate, like I said, everyone's time and insights and questions. Definitely feel free to check out spotio.com as well as salescreen.com for more information on how you can work with us and ensure that you are set up for success for the second half of the year with all of your reps hitting quota and not being part of that statistic that we shared up at the top of the hour. So, hope everyone has a great rest of their day. We'll see you out in the field and take care. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Zach.
See you guys.
Thanks.